This is the foundation coming to you my week 2, Redskins versus Cowboys. Man, for me personally, I really love this rivalry. I hate the Redskins with a passion. This game, for me is like I don't care who's playing, who's not playing, and all that. You throw everything out the window in this game. It always comes down. Going back, just because of this rivalry, this is how I became a fan. Little storytelling, quick one. In 1982, I didn't get to watch the NFC Championship. In fact, I was too little to really get into football that just yet. I'll play here and there, but nothing, anything. But anyway, like in late '82, November, we had a hurricane hit our island, Hurricane Eva. And we was in the process of building my parents' home, so excuse me. So we was living with other family members, and then that postponed the house longer. But anyway, we was living at one of our relatives' homes, and I remember because Monday night we didn't have ESPN, and ESPN wasn't. You had to pay for ESPN. But also, ESPN wasn't carrying the game. For us was KITV4, and the game would be on tape delay. So everybody would have to shut off the TVs prior, turn off the radio, nobody say nothing, kind of thing, And so I was watching the game by myself, and I forget what everybody else was doing, but I was watching, and not understanding football. I just saw touchdowns, and the Cowboys won 30-130, and it was like. And I've been addicted ever since, But I shared my pain too, and a couple of years later, Cowboys was all pretty good, and the Redskins came back, and they was winning the game, and then, Theismann started doing the kneel down, and again not understanding strategy. I was yelling at the TV. I was going, "You punk, you scared?" That's why, I was yelling at the TV. I was even crying, and then finally wasn't Downs, was not Walls, Fellows. He came in and he gave him a shot. Next, all the Redskins they followed, crowding him, and then here comes Randy White, tosses him to the ground. And I was yelling at the TV, "Good for you, good for you." But yeah, like this rivalry again, Herschel Walker became my favorite player of all time. Catching that huge bomb from Pallor, I love that game, and it was like ever since then. I mean, Herschel Walker is still yet my favorite Cowboy of all time. In 1989, our 1-in-15 year, that one win came against the Redskins. Remember Paul Palmer, Jimmy Johnson yelling at him, "Hold the ball." LeVar knocking out Aikman, basically retiring Aikman. Santana Moss, catching those 2 late touchdowns to win the game. Romo having that last minute touchdown, and then a couple of years ago, we could have had a bye, and they ruined our season. I mean, they didn't ruin our season, but they contributed to us not having a bye because they beat us. And then last year too, we stayed in the hunt because with our one win, without Romo, was against the Redskins. So this is how huge this rivalry is, But now going to the game, I do think that we need to expand for Dak to have more control of the offense. Not this throwing, seems like with his letter season we can take advantage of it. I'm not a big fan of this whole read option, but hey, might as well use him. Use what you got while he's still learning the game still. But and that's going to help spread the defense apart. Make them play sideline to sideline. Open them up for Zeke and Morris, stuff like that. And a little bit thing for Morris is that as humble as he is, I think he's gonna be like, get me in there. Quick call out to I'm calling out Dez, because Dez, if he can set that tone and get on big game, big play, and then everybody go, there you go. Everybody go, ooh. Then I can see him pumping up this team because he is the emotional leader of this team. And and with going back to Dak a little bit, if we can make the defense think a little bit, then Kerrigan and Smith, they can't just tee off. They're gonna have to. It's gonna help especially free and stuff like that. Defensively, well, going back to Zeke, I think with doing that kind of things as well too, and if Dez can get some big plays, Zeke, and now that he's practicing more, the offensive line and him is going to start learning from each other how he wants to run it, how to, the continuity going to be there. And then same thing goes for the defensive side. Now they start to practice on a routine together. Now they can develop a rapport with each other, and if they can control the line, then we can have Sean Lee doing his thing, flying to the ball. Washington has some awesome weapons. Jackson has always been a big weapon. The kid Dotson, he looks very promising. Garcon has always been that nuisance. Reed is a very talented. I can see him and Byron Jones going at it all game. I think his name is Jones. He's going to want to prove, like Morris, he's going to want to prove that he was the right decision on letting Morris go. So, and it is a big game. I don't want to be 0-2 in the division. I was hoping, that's why I was hoping last week we would win. And then this week, if we was to go 2-0, we have a chokehold on this division. And not only that, it's for me is, if Romo comes back and he's healthy and they choose to put him again, I don't care. If Dak is balling and they say, you know what, Romo, thank you, but we're going to still roll with the kid. It doesn't matter. This matters. It wins matters. But then if we continue to lose, next thing Jason, I mean not Jason, but Jerry's going to be looking at Romo like, are you ready? Are you ready? So for all you Dak fans out there, you need this win. Anyway, that's my again, Brad, this video. Oh man, I want to beat the Redskins so bad. Anyway, mahalo for watching. Paniolo boys, go Cowboys.